This is the Thayer Podcast for Thursday, April 20th, 2023. I ran into this story just over a week ago, written by the Washington Examiner's political reporter, Selena Zito. It's datelined Bedford, Pennsylvania, and I've taken some liberties reporting it. From across the bar in the Bedford Springs Hotel, anyone might have assumed that Christopher Agee, Joanne Harrison, and her husband Dan shared a lot in common. As I overheard their conversation when it turned to politics, it was very clear that the Harrisons were progressive, Joanne much more than Dan, and Agee was a solid conservative. As I watched and listened, amazed, something unheard of in today's never-ending politically polarized news cycle happened. Nothing. Even after politics had entered the discussion, they kept on laughing and chatting about their differences. The Harrisons voted for Biden. Agee voted for Trump. Yet they were having a grand old time and a rational conversation about polarizing issues, and they behaved with grace and humor. After being invited to sit with them, I found out they were not lifelong friends, and it took some serious banter to convince me that they had just met. Despite wildly differing points of view between the three of them, involving contentious issues like guns and abortion, no one stomped off in a huff. Nobody raised their voice. There were no expletives, and not one person was offended. So I asked why. Joanne smiled and said, I don't share much in common with Chris when it comes to politics, but there's no reason for any of us not to enjoy each other's company and even enjoy learning about our differences. Makes no sense to not engage with people you disagree with. Her husband Dan added that their two adult daughters are split in their politics, too. We've just always been this way, he said. One daughter is liberal, the other is conservative. Agee smiled broadly, put his arm around both of them, and exclaimed, I don't agree with any of their politics, but I like 'em. This has been a wonderful afternoon. Since the presidential election of 1800 between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, politically active Americans have viewed the opposing party and its followers in a negative light. In other words, partisan polarization has been a normal part of American life for centuries. What turned us from normal partisan politics to this sense that we can't live on the same street as someone who thinks differently began with 24-hour cable news and social media, two venues that saturate everything we do with partisan politics. You can't pick up your phone, go to an NBA game, buy a Budweiser, turn on a news channel, or attend a concert without some corporation, device, athlete, influencer, or entertainer injecting politics. And we're encouraged to believe that people who think differently than we do are evil or stupid or both. Nearly everything seems to support only part of a story or only one point of view, and it distorts how we see the world and each other. Question is, who are we when we log on to social media and spout something hateful? Are we Agee and the Harrisons? Or do we behave like the women on the Five, where anchors and guests spew such scathing and divisive comments they have to go to commercial break to calm down? Aren't we better than that? In my meager experience at gas stations, diners, churches, beauty shops, even roadside barbecues, most Americans resist negativity, and they love interactions that enrich their lives. We grassroots Americans embrace hope and shrink from hate. I believe there are more Agee and Harrison conversations going on than we realize. People find ideals that bond them together, and when they find differences, they handle them with honor. In parting, Joanne said, there is dignity in treating each other with grace. All three hugged each other as they parted, and everyone who had interacted with them, including me, was all the better for it. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Semper Fi.